So today I wanted to talk about words again, because I think in terms of advocacy for animals, choosing accurate words that explain exactly what's going on are really important. This was all sparked off because I'm going to go along to a talk this evening about what is called the Badger Cull, organised by people who don't want the animals to be murdered. And the use of the word cull made me think, that's interesting, isn't it? Because really, do we ever talk about culling people? Or, you know, is it just for animals? So off I trotted into dictionary land, and this is what I found. So when we're talking about cull, it says to control the size of a population of brackets animals by killing a limited number. And what about massacre? Let's look at the word massacre, because to me it sounds like a massacre. So I looked up massacre, and then it said to kill, brackets, people deliberately and violently, to slaughter. So I thought, okay. And then I thought, why not, I'm at it, why don't I just look up genocide? So genocide is the deliberate murder of a racial or cultural group. And I would say, why are we not referring to the Badger massacre or the Badger genocide? So obviously people would say, well, you know, there's a difference between people and animals. And I thought, let's see what the dictionary says. And again, the dictionary is not, you know, it's not like the word of God, if you believe in that sort of thing. It's just common meanings that have been ascribed to certain words. So I thought, let's look up some more words. So I looked up animal, a living creature typically differing from a plant in its capacity for spontaneous movement, a rapid response to stimulation. So we're clear that an animal is different from a plant, okay? But then the example they gave I found really weird, because it was a quote from Mark Twain, the author, and he said, man is the only animal that blushes or needs to. And I thought, but that's not really a very good example of what you're trying to say. Well, from our position as animal activists and animal advocates, it's a fantastic quote, because basically Mark Twain, he's an author, respected, you know, classic, and American. So really, and he's therefore calling human animals, and you're just thinking, yeah, legit, Mark, well done, the Marco. Then the dictionary sort of spoils it again by saying that animal means any living creature apart from a human being. Interesting, isn't it? And it doesn't really sort of justify that at all. Then I thought, well, what about people who are always sort of like going on about non-human persons? Let's look at what person means according to the dictionary. So several definitions, but then the one that I was interested in was that in law it says an individual, corporation, etc. That etc. is really interesting. So is the corporation, with recognised legal rights and duties. So what's the etc. that can relate to a person? Obviously people like us, animal activists, would say animal persons. And does it not seem a little tiny bit weird and extremely counterintuitive that a corporation can be referred to as a person, but a non-human being, an animal, can't be yet? I mean, how on earth did corporations manage to get considered and have the legal status of a person? How? Well, because they've got gigantic amounts of money, and they lobbied like crazy with their supremely well-paid legal eagle teams to get corporations legal personhood in order, I would suggest, and many others, to basically give them some leeway and wiggle room when it came to perhaps not acting in a very legal way. What I'm seeing here is no real rhyme or reason, and to me these are really good indicators of how arbitrary it is to call animals its or things and not to refer to them as a person. Because if a corporation can be a person, you know, I mean, surely an animal like, for example, I don't know, a badger could be referred to as a person and have legal rights, and therefore perhaps they shouldn't be massacred. I don't know.